my name is Catherine Roseland, here with Board Game Geek TV at Spiel in Essen 2013. I'm sitting here with Fabian Konos from Matergo Games, and he's here to talk about the new games Expedition Northwest Passage.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, Northwest Passage is one of our new games here released for Essen. And this game is about a true historical fact, actually.
Okay.
So in 1845, a British captain called Franklin tried to sail from Greenland to Canada by going through the Northwest Passage, so through the Arctic. And this way had never been mapped before, so it was uncharted. He started with two huge ships and disappeared. So nobody knows what happened to him. And to this day, we still don't know what happened to him. Well, he probably died. We are pretty sure about that.
Ship is probably somewhere out there.
Yeah, but we never found the remains of the ships and nothing. So when that happened, the British Navy sent other expeditions to try to find information and clues about what happened to Franklin expedition. And that's what you do in this game. So you are one of these captain of the ships, and you are sailing from Greenland into this hostile area and trying to find information about what happened to Franklin. So you all start in Greenland with your little ship here, and in your ship,
beautiful little ships.
Yeah, in your ship you have 7 crew members. So you can see they are dressed warmly. They have a huge coat.
Nice and lumpy, yeah.
Exactly. So you have 7 of them in your player board here. And
along with this little
sled
I
that you will use later on in the game, yes. So these 7 crew members can be spent to perform certain actions on your turn. So basically, you can consider them as being action points. The different actions you can do are all depicted at the bottom of your player board. So the first action you can do, and it costs you 1 crew member, is to pick a new tile. So when you spend a crew member, you will move it from this active area to the inactive area. Just slide it down. He's done his work. He's resting, and he will wake up on the next day. So when you pick a tile, you can either take a large tile like this, or you can take a small tile like this one. Yeah, you can see some of the tiles here. The second action you can do, and it will cost you 2 crew members, is to discard all the big tiles, and then you'll draw new ones from this bag. So you have a bag where you have all the tiles. I don't know if you can see them here, and you will draw new ones, and then you can pick one, and you take them in front of you. The next action you can do is to place the tile on the board, and this is a very important part of the game, because this is how the board will show itself as the game progresses.
Because you haven't discovered it yet, so you're basically discovering the
exactly. You're mapping the area, discovering the area. So for example, if I take a tile like this, so every tile is actually symmetric. So if you flip it over, you have the same picture, but mirrored. Yeah, exactly. So for example, I could take this tile here and place it here on the board. In order to do that, I need to have my boat adjacent to this location, and I just put down the tile. And of course, I need to be careful that the sea areas and the land areas match. Okay, that's a very important part of the game. So I couldn't do something like this because it doesn't match, but I could do something like this, for example. When you do this, you can also create islands. Like what I did here, I put down this tile and I've created a small island, and you will get points from this. So if I go back to the player board here, discovering an island gets you a cartography token that you place on your board. It's a reward for having started to map the area. And you will get certain amount of points depending on the size of the island you've just discovered. So that's one way to get points.
Is it the tokens that determine the size, or is it the...
No, it's just the number of tiles.
It's the number of tiles.
Number of tiles simply that determines the size of the island. Yeah. You can, of course, move your boat. That's another action. But as I said previously, the goal of the game is really to find the remains of the Franklin expedition. So on some of the tiles, like this one, or maybe this one, which one I'll find also maybe this one and this one. So these are 4 examples of tiles where you have a little picture on them. So here, this is an Inuit, okay? So these are the last people who saw Franklin alive.
So you can ask them questions.
Yeah, exactly. You go to them, you ask questions, have you seen them, where did they go, and so on. So when you place a tile like this on the board, I'll make an example here, you place the corresponding token on it. And if you sail with your boat here, you can pick up this token and it will give you victory points. You can also discover cairns, so tombs of fallen crew members of the expedition. So you have 2 at the beginning of the game here. So that's also an important information. You can figure out where did they die, when did they die, and so on. You can also find some remains of the expeditions. Here you have a broken boat with some crates. Same thing, you place the token on it. And you can also get points by discovering new paths, new straits. So you place the star on it, and same thing, you can pick that up to get some points. The difference between the round token and the square tokens is that the round tokens will also give you a majority scoring at the end of the game. Whoever has the most of these round tokens will get points at the end of the game. Okay? Now, the very, very new idea in this game is that you have this sun token. So I'll put it here in the middle. As you can see, the sun will move around the board like this, and it's divided into 2 parts. The lower part, the yellow part, is the warm area, and the upper part is the cold area, okay? So what that means is that at the beginning of the game, the sun is here. So every tile that is above this line is frozen. And frozen means that even though you have sea and land, the sea is frozen. It has to be considered as ice. So yeah, when this line here of tile is frozen, of course a boat cannot go there.
No.
And if it was there when it freezes, of course the boat is stuck, it cannot move anymore. So at the beginning of the game it's easy. You have just one stripe here that is frozen. And then it will move. When the sun will arrive here, half of the board here is completely frozen. And it gets worse because then it goes down here and almost all of the board is frozen. And so that's when you will be extremely interested to get your little sled out.
Yes.
Because of course the sled can go on land and it can cross the water when it's frozen.
Definitely.
So you will take it out, you can place it on the same tide as your ship, and then it can go across the water if it's frozen. The problem is that in order to do this, you don't get extra crew members, of course. You still need to work with your existing crew members. So you will need to transfer part of your crew from the ship to your sled. So you can do this by doing the action here. It's transferring. Yeah, put it in the middle. And so you can decide to transfer part of your crew to your sled. You can decide, you can transfer all of them or only part of them. So from now on, if I want to move from my sled, I can use the crew members here. If I want to move the ship, I can use the crew members from here. And of course, if I want to pick up a token with a sled, I have to use crew members from here and everything, okay? So at one point you will get your sled out and you'll try to continue using the sled, but then you have to be careful because the sun will continue moving, and at one point it will melt.
And if the sled is out in the ocean when it melts, then it sinks.
Exactly. Or it can be stranded on an island, you know, and isolated. And
you have to send your boat to go pick it up.
Exactly, and then you have to send your boat to pick it up. But the problem is that when the sun token comes back here for the second time, it's the end of the game. And by that time, you should have gone back to Greenland. You don't have to, but if you don't, you lose a lot of points. So you should redo it. So if your sled is stuck out there with a lot of crew members and you cannot make it back, you'll lose a lot of points. So you should really plan ahead and make sure that you have enough time to go back to Greenland. Another way to get points in this game is to reach the Northwest Passage. So to do what Franklin failed to do. And the first player who does this gets a certain amount of points depending on how many players are in the game. But it's very dangerous because going that far away across the board, then you have to go back to Greenland. Yeah, exactly. So
I noticed there are tokens here as well.
Yeah, exactly. So the first player who comes back to Greenland will get some points. So it's all this pressure that the game puts on you with the sun moving, and when do I get my sled out, but then I have to get it back, otherwise I lose my crew members, and will I have time to go back to Greenland on time or not? So it's all this pressure that the game puts on you that makes the game really, really interesting. And of course, a lot of interaction because everybody plays on the same board. So a tile that I will place on the board, you will sail on it, and so forth. So
what are the rest of the actions that you can do here? I see there's several actions that are depicted on this player board.
Yeah, so pick a tile. These first two are to pick a tile. Yeah, get rid of them and pick one.
Place a tile.
Move the boat or the sled. Transfer your crew members from the sled to the boat. And here it's to pick up the tokens. So to pick up the round tokens and to pick up the square tokens.
Okay.
And at the end of the game, you have the majority scoring for the round tokens. You also have points for having one of each token. And then you lose points. If your boat didn't make it, you lose 2 points. But you also lose 2 points per crew member that didn't make it. So we had a game the other day where one of my colleagues left her boat stuck in the ice here, and she went back to Greenland with her sled, with all her crew members. She left the boat empty down there, and that's fine. She only lost 2 points. You know, that's something you can do. So you have a lot of possibilities in this game, which makes this a very interesting game.
So how long will a game typically take to play?
Typically, when you know the rules, you can play in an hour. Otherwise, maybe your first game will be an hour and a half, probably.
And will this be available in the United States?
Oh yeah, of course. It will be distributed by Asmodee. All our games are always distributed by Asmodee.
So keep an eye out.
Yeah, exactly.
And
so
it's from 2 to 4 players?
2 to 4 players, exactly. We'd say 14 years old and above, because it's quite a
harsh game.
heavy game.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. That was
you.
Expedition Northwest Passage from Matago Games.
Thank you.